apprehend God in all things, for God is in all things. Every single creature is filled with God and is a book about God. Amen. So, did I ever tell you I was a lifeguard? Well, I'm going to tell you again. I was a lifeguard. I was a lifeguard at the Breakers. You ever been to the Breakers? Man, it's a happening, swanky place. And it's in Palm Beach. It's one of the oldest hotels in Palm Beach. Henry Flagler, the guy who brought the railroad down to South Florida, he was involved in building it. And yeah, I worked on the beach as a lifeguard. And it was cool. It was a cool job. So cool that I started it just being a summer job and ended up leaving college for a year. My parents were real happy about that. To do it, because it was great. And I got to meet a lot of people from all over the world being a lifeguard. And one time I met this group of Italian people. They were all kind of right around my age. And they asked, and I would do my Italian accent, but it's really bad, so I'm not going to do it. But they asked, hey, is there anywhere to go out tonight? Anywhere for us to go dancing? And I said, I've got just the place, and I'll go with you. So I drive over to the Breakers and Park, and I go into the lobby, and it's just this beautiful place. And I was dressed good, well. And I walk over to, back in that day, there was a phone, and you could call the room where the people were. And I called them, and I noticed, as I was looking to my right, there were security guards, and the Breakers had their own security guards. And they were looking at me. And I'm not paranoid. They were looking at me. And so I'm looking at them, look at me, and I'm thinking, what's up with this? And then one of them walks over and goes, I understand that you work over at the beach club. And I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, I'm not making this up. He goes, the next time that you're going to come get some of our guests, please have them meet you outside. Because the help are not supposed to be in with where the guests are. I know. I was like, harsh, man. Golly. All right, so fast forward 6 years. And Cindy and I, somebody gave us a weekend at the beginning of our honeymoon, gave us a weekend at the Breakers. Okay, so I'm a guest now. So I'm walking in the lobby like, where is this guy? How you like me now, right? Beachfront room. So what I want to ask you, though, is what do the security guard and I have in common? What do we have in common in the way we treated each other? Okay, suspicion, and no doubt about that, but then also we have not taken to heart our gospel reading for today. I don't know whether he heard it or not, but I heard it growing up, but I just didn't take it to heart. All right, and this is what I mean by that, because this is what the gospel says to us. Jesus says, whoever wants to be great must be servant of all. Whoever wants to be great must be servant of all. That's what the gospel says. You see, in the eyes of Jesus, being a servant equals greatness. Well, I don't know about you, but that's not the way I learned growing up where I grew up. So I worked at the Breakers, but I lived across the water in West Palm Beach. And so growing up kind of around Palm Beach, I knew a lot of people who had servants. And through my teenage eyes, I'll tell you, it didn't seem like the servants were the ones who were considered great. Didn't seem like that to me. As a matter of fact, what I learned living where I lived was that the great people were those who had the most, not those who gave the most. What I learned, I'm not saying this was right, I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying as a teenager, that's the way I saw life. Well, it seems to me the ones who are treated the best are the ones who have the most. not the ones who give the most. I mean, isn't that kind of the way our society is? Now, this is not a rag on our society. I'm not ragging on it, all right? But I just want to point this out. Our society essentially says, if you want to be happy, if you want to find happiness, then you'll find it in consuming and acquiring and getting, right? And the thing is there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. That's true to some degree. Unless it's true, unless that's all my life is about. If all my life is about consuming, and that's where I'm seeking happiness, then there will never be enough. If all my life is about acquiring, then eventually, if that's all I can think about, eventually I'll just become a taker. I'll just take stuff. Because I think that's the way life's supposed to be, right? If all my life is just about getting, then at best, I'm living a half life. There has to be more to life. You see, in Jesus, today in the gospel, invites us into the more of life. He doesn't say there's anything wrong with receiving. But he says, in effect, if you want to be great, if you want true happiness, then give. Be a servant. Do you see what Jesus is doing? Jesus isn't commanding anything. He's inviting us into his world. He's inviting us into seeing the world as he sees it. And the way he sees it is true greatness is not found in acquiring and acquiring and acquiring and acquiring. It's found in giving and serving. So when I give myself to life, when I serve life and I serve other people, Jesus says, that's where you're going to find greatness. That's where you're going to find happiness. And I got to experience this. I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, right? But it's true. So I got to experience it here, right here at St. John's. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And it was last week. John kind of alluded to it at the piece. But last week, at the 8 o'clock service, a young guy came in. And the thing that was so cool about this experience was that it happened here with you all, with the people of St. John's. And what I realized throughout this past week is that I need people and I need places where I can experience and see people serving other people so that I can learn it more, so that I can take it to heart more, because it's not necessarily my first inclination. Okay, and I'm just being honest here. So this guy comes in at 8 o'clock, right? You with me? 8 o'clock? Okay. It's after the 8 o'clock service, and and he looks bad, and he's had a rough time, and all that goes with that. And he's apologizing about the way he looks, and he's apologizing about the way he smells, and I'm trying really hard to overlook all that stuff. And the truth is, Sunday is the hardest day in the world for us, for the clergy, to help other people. As funny as that sounds. It's very hard because we're so busy running, and it's like, oh, God. Here's this dude, man. Why you got to come right now? I don't want to do this right now. Right? You ever feel like that? Oh, just me. You guys, throw me under the bus here. I appreciate that. So he goes, can I just have a prayer? And I was like, oh, God. Sure, that's all you want is a prayer. So I said, so you don't think I'm a real jerk. I am a jerk. But so I said to him, what's going on? Tell me what's happening. And he said, I've been down here for a while, and I was living with somebody who just got kicked out of my house, and I've been on the streets for the last couple days, and I'm just tired. I just want to go home. can I use your phone to call my grandma to see if I can get a bus ticket home? So I said, sure. So we went in, and he called on the phone, and I was standing there while he was talking, and he's like, Granny, it's me. I know you haven't heard from me in a while, and I'm so sorry. I feel so bad. My life is going in such a bad direction. And can you just ask Dad if he'd send some money for a bus ticket home? And he said, I don't blame him if he doesn't. I understand if he doesn't, but I just want to come home. So she didn't answer him because he said, she's going to have to call back. Is it okay if she calls back here? And I said, sure, it's okay. So he sat in the break room, and I got him, so you don't think I'm, like I said, such a jerk. I got him a cup of coffee, got him something to eat, and he was sitting there, and the calls kind of went back and forth, so it took a while. And I eventually had to leave to go teach Sunday school downstairs. And so other people in the office picked it up. And I came back into the office after Sunday school, and he was still there. They were still working with him. We did 10:30 church, went back in there after 10:30 service, and we worked it out so that we got him a bus ticket. And one of the people in the office, because he'd had his clothes on for 3 days, called her husband at home and said, can you bring him some clothes? He's a big guy, so it wouldn't have fit this guy. So he went next door to his neighbor's house and got some clothes from them that were the right size. He brought the clothes over, and he brought a couple sandwiches for the guy so that he could have something to eat while he was on the bus. And then somebody from here took the kid from here to the bus station. And right there in that whole scene, Jesus says, is greatness. That's what it means to be great. That's what it means to experience life as Jesus experiences it. And the coolest thing of all for me, once again, was that it happened right here. You know, it happened right here. And it can happen to you. Maybe even today. Amen.